Hello guys, it's Avcoor, and I want to start here before I get into the band pick list for Archeland because this is pretty important. The guy who actually does the band list and the tier list is actually one of the best players in the game. So let me go over my conversation with this guy. This guy's like, LOL, man, thanks for the review. I'm the person who wrote this, and I'm currently still ranked number one on the PvP. I'll update a band pick version tier list with correct English name this time. Haha, I realized the nickname caused problem in translation. This milk, that milk, which means healer. And then here's me. Why are you ranked one? I don't know. Thanks, man. We'd love to hear from you. We really need to hear from this guy because when we get into the band list, you'll understand that the band pick list has totally changed the dynamics of PvP and Archland to the point where it's really good for you guys to look at this and evaluate it and see why things are the way they are. So let's continue. Haha, because I keep winning. Yeah, love to share more detail and discuss with you guys. I just update my Genki BP tier list. Be sure to check it out as well. I said I'll do a video on it. Here I am. Great, let me know if something's not clear. There's a few things that are not too clear to me, but we'll get into that. First of all, we'll start at the bottom of the tier list because this is just as important as the top. I want you to look at all these characters right here. And the first thing that I will say is they're actually really important now that the ban pick is in effect. Why do I say they're important? Because you get a box of 13 characters, I think. It's 3, 6, 9, 12. 12 characters, I think. I have to check that. And you as a player can ban their characters and they can ban your characters. So ultimately, you're going to only be able to pick 5 out of the group of characters that you have. And most players like me, I don't have 15 characters built. Yes, it's 15. I think 15. I don't have 15 characters built to actually effectively play the new form of PvP. So when I see the bottom list, that is just as important to me as the top list. Because when we get to the top list, just expect that your opponent is going to ban those characters because they're so impactful to the game in the meta. So you'll see the top, but the bottom is just as important. And one of the things that excites me the most is to see Sanikin at the top of the won't get banned. This is good for a couple of reasons. For all of us, it's good if you're a PvE player and you are on a budget. You probably have Sanikin built pretty much to the maximum level you're allowed to build him. And I think that's a good thing because he is easy to access and his performance in PvP is below average, but with the new ban pick system, it's a little above average. So that's good. I knew she would actually be part of this because she's a rush player and you'll see Capet's value go up as we continue down this road as rush becomes more prominent. Capet has tools that allows her to competently participate in rush strategies. Peacock is a surprise to me. I'm not quite sure why she's here. I kind of think that the fact that Dark has gotten better, and because Dark has become better because of the band pick system, I think she's a natural pick to activate the leadership skill of Susie and Susan. So that's why I think she's here. But don't quote me on that. This is obvious because he's just a fourth healer. So in the ban pick system, if you're good enough, you can ban all of your healers. Say if you run a tank push strategy that you slowly turtle your way towards the opponent, well, in the band pick system, you can literally get rid of 3 healers if you're skilled enough in your band pick. The reason why Lohanes is here is because he's a 4th healer. So if you screw up your band pick and you're a tank push player, you have another healer to fall back on. So I knew Lohanes would have value, and that's why he's here. In fact, he's ahead of a lot of other characters, so I know that from my experience playing Landgresser that this is extremely important. See, these 4 I want you to keep your eye on because some of these guys are going to fall to the wayside, but I think these characters have a lot more staying power than others. I was shocked when I saw her, but when I thought about it, she does carry a leadership skill for lightning heroes, and she does have ranged attack, so I think she would be solid. So I don't know how well she does in PvP nowadays, but looking at it from my experience playing with her on a free-to-play account, she's not bad. I think she's better for PvE than PvP. This dude, I kind of saw coming because he's a very versatile character because he can heal and he can DPS and he has a fire team leadership skill. So I knew that he was going to have value. The same with her because she has a leadership skill. If you have her and 2 more female characters, then you activate the leadership skill, which is pretty important. I'm shocked with her, but she is a solid tank. Kabir does not shock me being here. Michael doesn't shock me either. These are support characters. They're fill-in characters. Much like Lena, she carries a team leadership skill that if you have her and 2 more blue units, then you have a leadership skill. And a lot of good characters that are at the top are blue units, so she has value because of that. Another extra healer, but she has DPS potential. Sighart I knew would be here because he's not as strong as you would like him to be, but he carries a team leadership skill and he's good in a pinch. Same with Ballet. I'm kind of shocked that we have all 3 MC characters here, which is pretty good to me. Excuse me. Going up, we see a kind of decline in Alicia. Alicia used to be tier 0, but she's fallen off because of fixed damage and the AoE pressure is so big that it's hard for her to maintain the party. But she's still tier 3, which is good because she is a healer. So even though she's tier 3, when you think of the fill-in spots, she should be considered. Same thing with Sylvanette. She had like a burst of popularity, then she fell off because she's not as good as people once thought. I thought she would be like Uber, but she's not because the top tier characters have mechanics in their kits that allow them to exceed beyond just being DPSs, and she does not do that. But she is a good fill-in spot. And same with Erica. Erica used to be like super good, but Coil took her thunder away, as he is a superior archer. Now that we play tested him, I've seen him in so many videos, and people find it hard to kill his dog, which is weird. I didn't think his dog would have that much importance in the meta, but it does. For you to have an archer and a pet in a game like this is really potent, and I didn't see that coming. Erica is good in rush strategies, and she'll always have a place there, but she has a linear playstyle in PvP, so she will be limited. Marguerite is really important. Not to say that she's super, super good, but when you're thinking about the band pick, you're looking at characters who can do more than one role, because if you're forced to play that character, they got to do something else so you can diversify your strategy. Say for instance, Marguerite can actually teleport people around, which is good in a situation where some of your better characters get band picked out. You have a strategy to fall back on that if you didn't have her or and you had somebody like him, it would be less. But if you have her instead of a guy like him in your back line, then she can do more. She can attack and heal, she can attack and move, and she can buff. So I think Marguerite was well placed, and she's well placed because she can block debuffs. Atum shocks me on some level, but then he doesn't. The thing about Atum is he's a competent DPS, but he doesn't offer much outside of that. But when you think about the band pick system and some of your better characters get knocked off, it's nice to have him instead of someone like her or someone like him or someone like Kabir. So I can see where his value comes in. And the same with Ibn Attar. The thing about Ibn Attar is he is a water DPS unit. He also pairs well with Coil. So when you look at this band pick list, understand that characters have to work well with other characters. So when they band pick out these better characters that I'm going to show you, you have someone to fall back on who actually has cohesion with other characters that you can use because he comes with a team leadership skill, and you'll notice that a lot of these characters value will be based on the fact that they carry a team leadership skill. Like this guy carries a team leadership skill and he can heal. His value is more than Sighart, who can only DPS, and he has a leadership skill, but that outside of that, that's all he can do. And there are better warriors than Sighart on this list, and there's better wizards than Nicholas on this list. But if you're in a pinch, I would prefer to have Nicholas than Sighart, if you get what I'm saying. Same with Ibn Attar. I would prefer to have Ibn Attar over Lena because he actually can extend his movement. He has 5 movement, but he actually has a skill that will launch him 3 squares into the enemy territory. So characters like him and Erica have value because they're good in rush strategies. So now we're looking at T2 characters, and it shocks you that Clefairy is so low. The reason why Clefairy is so low is because of Coil and Electo and the band pick system. It really screwed Clefairy up because components that she needed in order to thrive will not always be there. Like, you'll not always have Charlotte who could take advantage of her act again. You'll not always have Catherine that can benefit from her heals. There are certain components in this game that make other characters better. Like, Valek is good on any team, and that will show later on in the tier list. Like, we actually have another healer that is really, really good that pushes her down as well. I didn't see this change coming, but when I look at it, I understand it. I may argue that can be T1, but I'll never argue that she can be T0. The same with Gabriel. Gabriel is middle of the road anyway. She's more of a PvE tank, so I'm not shocked that she's placed in T2. But think about T2 as this. Don't think of them as trash characters. These are characters that will not always get banned, but at certain times they will get banned because these are the middle of the road characters, and when you build your team for the ban pick PvP system, you always have to look at it as you're going to be playing 5 characters. Who do you want those to be? And half of the time you will want them to be Clefairy and Gabriel. Yix was way at the bottom, but because of the way the system works, she fills multiple roles, much like Nicholas, much like Marguerite. She can buff movement. She can switch positions. So if you get some of these higher tier characters band picked out, you still have a strategy with Yig, and she can do extra stuff that the opponent doesn't see coming. In this game, you're going to have a surprise factor in order to beat your opponents. A lot of these guys will see strategies coming together because people use the same strategies over and over again. When something gets popular, people copy it. But understand that just you copying a person's strategy doesn't make it good. The person crafted that strategy and was successful with it because they used the resources they had and the playstyle they liked. So you might not always be a part of that playstyle or can implement that playstyle. So this middle row is very important. You at least want to have at least 4 or 5 of these characters. It doesn't shock me that we see Seminar on the rise again because she's a strong single target unit and she's versatile in the fact that she can make herself able to avoid an attack from a person that she chooses. If she has her unique weapon, that's 2 people that cannot hit her with a single target attack. Value that ability because, excuse me, over time it will wane, but if she's like a third pick, it's not bad. Because T2 is third pick characters. T1 is first pick characters. T0 is someone who you would like to pick but will get banned, or you may have to pick them. More likely they will get banned. So you at least want 1 or 2 of those characters in your party. Susie and Susan are on the rise, and I knew this would be the case with the ban pick system because they offer debuffs, they offer teleportation, and more importantly, they offer a team leadership skill. So 2 dark characters and your team leadership skill is ready to go. So you have Susie and Susan, you have Zilvanath, you have Peacock, and you have Layla. Okay, Layla. You have Layla, and you can activate her team leadership skill. But there's some other good dark characters that are up here that give her more value as a character. Silva is always a team favorite. She goes up, she goes down, but I doubt she'll ever be anything less than T3, even at the end of this game's life, because fixed damage is so powerful, and the fact that her team leadership skill gives you access to that is great. More importantly, she's a AOE hero, so I want you to think about the PvP format in this. There's 2 type of teams that will always be formed, no matter what game zlonggames will do: single target teams and AOE teams. AoE teams are always easier to build because single target relies more on equipment, more on individual individual character building, which is expensive. Where AoEs are more about what the character's AoE can do and how much damage it does, and how you stack on those AoEs, which in turn is easier to do, but single target is actually more deadly because if you kill the tank and you run a single target team, you can really rip the opponent's party apart after you kill the tank. And right now, there's no tank with an extra life in the game. So single target is very potent. So let's go to T1. So T1 is the second to the best. And you'll notice that there are some characters here that have risen and some characters that have fallen. But the first thing I want you to notice is we got 1, 2, 3 tanks in T1. This is why Gabriel is T2. There's just better tanks right now in the meta. So we'll start with Catch. Catch will always have a place in the meta for the simple fact that her skill disables the guard of tanks. So she's one of the premier tanks for single target strategies. Your goal is to place her in the middle and have her meet the tank, and then you have characters like Jen, characters like Charlotte, characters like Seminar just run and kill whoever they want. However, she is not a very versatile tank and she's very passive. Some of her active skills are not that powerful, but one skill in particular that allows her to jump in and position herself is really strong. Jin has slowly but surely rose the ranks for the simple fact that his overall damage is insane. And another thing that you have to notice about Jin is his team leadership skill. When we talked about Jin in the earlier video that I made, I said that his team leadership skill is broken for the simple fact that all it is required are two female heroes. So let's look at female heroes for a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's all between the ranks of T1 and T3. So there is never an excuse that you will never have an effective team leadership skill with Jin. That is one of the pronoun effects that he has. Second, if you place Jin by himself and you equip him properly and someone attacks into him, they will be hurt. The third aspect of Jin is he's blue. Electo is one of the premier DPSs right now, and Velek one of the premier healers, and they're both red, and Jin can dispatch them with ease. So Jin's perfect partner right now is Catch, as she allows him to ignore the guard of people that he can move in and kill effectively, and he has range. So we derped him at first, but this dude is slowly rising. So keep an eye out on Jin. He may even rise even higher. Irina is the newest addition, and of course we knew she was going to be ranked high, but she's not ranked as high as some people thought. They thought she was just going to be the best, but there's a reason why Richard's at the top. First of all, she's good because she is a versatile tank. She has two forms of guard, which no other tank right now has in the game, and you can tailor fit that defensive skill to whatever you're facing. If you're going against Jin, then you take the physical defense 30% counter attack damage guard skill. If you're facing someone like Yig or someone like Susie and Susan, then you take the skill that gives her counter attack range of 1 and reduces the magic damage that she takes. And she also has a skill that heals her HP, and she reduces the crit of people within range. And she's one of the few tanks in the game with damage immunity. She reduces the overall damage that she takes. So she is really, really, really good. Moving on to Charlotte, there's nothing more to say about Charlotte than what's already said. The lowest I think Charlotte will ever go is T2, and that's about it. The thing that makes Charlotte so good right now is Electo exists and she's fire. Velek exists and she's fire, as she can dispatch these characters with ease. Single target characters like Jin and Charlotte appreciate Catch, as they remove the tank and allow them to attack freely. When we look at Richard, we're looking at the best tank in the game for PvP. Why do I say that? What does he have over Catch and Arena? He's a more active tank. He has a passive that gives him overall damage reduction. One of the best passives in the game. He also has a passive guard that he does not spend a turn in order to activate it. As long as he gets hit, as long as he takes damage, he'll automatically have 2 guard range that he can constantly keep up during the match. So you're not spending a turn activating your guard skill. The third thing about it is he can stun units, and in this game stun is so powerful and is so potent that despite being such an old unit, his value is still so high. Him and Charlotte have aged really well in this game, even over Clefairy, which I thought personally would age better than every character. In PvE, she'll be unending in PvP and PvE content, but in PvP she has dropped. So when we think of Richard, just look at the best tank. If you're looking to build a tank push team, Richard's your go-to guy. Because remember, these two are water. These two characters are water, and he's green, so keep that in mind. Electo is the perfect counter to Richard, as she forces you to use Richard in a way that you don't want to use him, but Richard can actually counter Electo if you misplay him. Electo ability is to warp the terrain. If you're sitting on burning terrain and you're taking damage every time you move, that's meta changing, and it has changed the meta forever. It shocked me that Coil actually exceeds Electo, but there's reasons for that because Electo's only one character. When you look at Coil, you're actually looking at two characters. But never fear, Electo is still good, and I personally think that if it wasn't for the way the meta is going, she would have been T0. Still, fixed damage is so powerful, and when you look at Electo, keep your eye on Silver because they're a nasty combination. So now we're looking at the top banned characters, and it's weird that Catherine still remains at the top. It doesn't shock me, but at the end of this, we'll talk about what the guy I mentioned earlier said, and we'll look at his assessment, and we'll draw from there. But I knew Valek was going to be a top tier healer because the simple fact is that she can do a little bit of what every other healer can do. Say for instance, she has a passive heal like Clefairy. She also has a heal that before you attack, you're healed, which is pretty powerful. And more importantly, she can heal the party, and if they get hit, they do damage back. She's doing so much for just being one character. It's kind of insane. And with the ban pick system now in place, you need versatility over just raw power. Characters in the top ban list are characters that can function on any team, and Valek is such a character that can do that. Catherine will always be top tier. First of all, she makes another character. So she is one of two top PvP units that has another character that they can create. And this alone sets her apart from other characters. Second, she has an unhealable AoE attack debuff, which is pretty powerful. And last but not least, her rage skill does fixed damage, and you can pile on that damage. And at times, you can kill 2 to 3 units at a time, which is absolutely insane. And when paired with Silva, which is still a good combination, you're laying waste to team. So it's amazing what Catherine can do, and she has aged the best out of all the characters in the game for PvP. Coil, Coil's weird. I knew Coil was good. I just didn't realize how good he was till people start getting a hold of him and start utilizing him in combat. Cole's got all the tools he needs and then some. Erica is a good archer, but she's T3 for a reason. Cole's doing so much more, and he comes with a little buddy called his wolf, and his wolf has very high stats, and like I said before, he could die literally 3 times and come back, so it's hard to stop Cole. And more importantly, it's hard to stop his dog. The problem archers have in this game is the fact that they can't counterattack at run range. But Cole's pet actually alleviates this, as not only do you focus on Cole, but you actually focus on his pet, who has very high single target damage. So Cole attacks, his dog attacks, and if a unit's unguarded, that's literally a kill. And Cole comes with a leadership skill. So when you look at this character, he's the whole package. Out of all these characters up here, he's the only one with a leadership skill. And he has a pet. This dude is doing so much. And he has buffs. And he can heal himself. And he has an assist skill. Just an amazing character. Now, Hazel is another unique character, and she functions purely for PvP. She is not really made for PvE content. Her heals look weird at first, but the ability to gather your party moves you away from Electo's fire. It gets you out of the way of AoE attack. Excuse me. And she heals at the same time. She buffs and she heals. The thing that I have an issue with is the fact that she does not have a aromatherapy, the single target heal skill, but her heals are so powerful that she gets around that. And the buffs that she gives are critical to any person in this list. So you really have to take Hazel. You actually have to watch people play her to realize her true value. It's weird all the combinations that you can do with her, but yeah, she deserves to be there. I knew she was a PvP healer, but I just didn't know how she was going to work until I saw some games on Billy. So yeah, this list is legit. It's just weird the way it worked. But let's go into the thoughts of the guy who made the made the tier list. So he says first band pick rate tier list of BP night contest is out. The BP mode and the blind box PvP mode are almost different games in latter environments. This is true, as I said. The four members of T0 band pick are the core chess pieces with the best performance and the current single output team and the area solid injury team. This current single output team is single target team, and the area solid injury team, that's AoE versus single target attack. So this guy's good at single target attack, but he also buffs. All these characters do something more than excuse me than their assigned roles. But she's the premier AoE attacker. He's the premier single target attacker, and these two are core healers, so that's why they're top bands. The hard counter Ghost Nub Velek of single target output. Do whatever you want in a world that bans Catherine. Catherine has been such a staple in teams that your ability to ban her has opened the floodgates to new team combinations, and I think that's really good. That's why her power has increased because you don't always have to worry about Catherine and her debuffs. She was a hard counter to Catherine and her debuffs, as her wand actually makes you immune to debuffs. So yeah, this changed things for Valek. So the strongest fixed injury, fixed damage, and range debuff in auxiliary is Catherine, the second queen of sticking teeth for I don't know what that means. I just know that Catherine is and has been always a meta threat. Powerful single target attacker, immunity to solid damage, buff machine, high crit. Most people can't beat Cole's dog single handedly. This is very important, as that means you can literally count this guy's dog as another character. Because with his unique weapon, his dog gets stronger. Not everybody will have a good Cole, even though they have Cole. So I don't think he's that big of a threat until you get into the higher ladders, because it takes a lot of investment for Cole to reach his full potential. Unlike Catherine, she doesn't need as much investment, but Cole does. So the strongest counter, solid injury, thunder system, heals, hazel, and anti-solid injury go all over rivers and lakes. All send teleportation, all send magic and disperse. Cooldown reduction. The cooldown reduction in Hazel Kit is important because a lot of characters rely on their skills in order to deal damage in order to operate. And for her to do that is game breaking. For her to pull characters into an area and heal them is game breaking because it reestablishes your position. And when the fog closes in, there's actually a cheat with Hazel where the fog closes in and she gathers all the characters into the center and she pushes everybody out. So if you wanted to play tank push with her, you could, but you need an extra healing support, but that is possible. And she also counters the fire that Electo does, which is really good. And she gets magic defense buffs, which is really good. And she raises crit. So this guy knows what he's talking about, and I really appreciate the work that he does. But if you like my content, hit the like, share, subscribe button. I'll get back to you. Have a great day, and goodbye.